Why can a single passing comment from someone have the power to make our whole day feel heavy and restless? Just one careless remark, a tone that feels unfriendly, a cold reaction, or a message seen but left unanswered, and suddenly the mind clings to it, refusing to let go. We keep replaying that moment over and over, trying to decode every detail, wondering what we did wrong. What others said may have already vanished from their memory, yet we carry it day and night as if it were a wound that refuses to close. This is a silent form of suffering that almost everyone experiences, but few are brave enough to name. We do not only hear with our ears, we feel with our hearts. And when we take things too personally, every small word strikes into our sense of self, making the pain even deeper. Here is the liberating truth. What hurts us is not the world itself, but the way our mind interprets the world. The Buddha understood this suffering thousands of years ago and offered compassionate, practical methods to free us from this emotional trap. Today, we will explore 5 teachings that can help you stop taking things personally and return to the peace within yourself. Now, let us begin with the first insight. Teaching 1. It is not about you. When someone speaks harshly, criticizes us, or completely ignores us, the mind's first reaction is often to blame ourselves. Did I do something wrong? Do they no longer respect me? How bad must I be for them to treat me like this? We immediately assume that everything is our fault and direct the arrow of pain toward our own heart. But if we pause for just a moment and look deeper, we will see an important truth. People do not act from the reality of the present moment. They act from what is overflowing inside them. Someone exhausted after carrying too many burdens may easily snap at anyone. Someone who has been betrayed may constantly doubt and attack even genuine care. Someone full of insecurity and fear may criticize others just to feel in control or worthy. Their reactions speak much more about their inner world than they do about who we are. Buddhism calls this karma and perception. Every person sees life through a lens shaped by their past, their experiences, their beliefs, and their wounds. When someone treats us poorly, we often ask why we deserve such behavior. But the real question should be, are they truly seeing who I am, or are they reacting from their own suffering? If all those emotions belong to them, why do we hold them as if they are a reflection of our worth? It is like someone placing a heavy, invisible stone on our shoulders, and we choose to carry it all day long. One of the greatest forms of freedom is learning to return what was never ours to hold. From now on, when someone hurts you with their words or actions, gently ask yourself, does this really speak about me? Or is this just an echo from a heart that is hurting? When we understand that with both mind and heart, a great weight is lifted. We cannot control the pain inside others, but we can choose not to turn it into our own suffering. And that is the first step toward true inner peace. Teaching 2. The story the mind creates. There are times when what hurts us is not the event itself, but the story our mind builds around it. Someone remains silent and does not reply to a message. The objective truth is simply an empty space. No words, no clear meaning. But our mind refuses to leave it that way. It immediately begins to write an emotional script. They must not want to talk to me anymore. Maybe they are angry with me. Perhaps they look down on me. Within minutes, worry and the fear of being rejected start spreading inside the heart. The troubling part is that none of these assumptions are proven, yet the mind treats them as absolute truth. Buddhism points out that the mind is a natural storyteller. It constantly tries to interpret, defend, and predict. But most of its stories are created from old memories, fear, and deep-rooted beliefs. When the mind is not trained in awareness, it identifies every thought as reality, and from that place, it creates countless forms of suffering. Someone walks past us without greeting, and the mind decides they disrespect us. Someone appears busy, and the mind insists they are avoiding us. Even a simple, careless comment can become an arrow piercing our self-worth if the mind adds meaning to it. But the truth is much simpler. A thought is just a thought. It is not reality. It is not who we are. And not everything the mind presents deserves to be believed. The Buddha taught that when a thought appears, we can simply recognize it as if watching a cloud drift across the sky. Thinking. That is all. No labeling it as good or bad. No rushing to identify with it. No reacting automatically to it. When we learn to stand as the observer, rather than being pulled into the stream of thoughts, emotional pain begins to soften. Feelings still arise and fade, but we no longer drown in them. This practice reveals that most of what hurts us only exists in imagination. And when we truly understand that, we open the very first door to inner freedom. Remember, you are not the story the mind creates. You are the one who is aware of the story. Teaching 3. The power of non-reaction. When someone says something that hurts us, the natural reaction for most of us is to respond immediately. Sometimes we argue back. Sometimes we hold it inside and let it quietly consume us. But in both cases, we are the ones who carry the storm of emotions. The Buddha taught that true strength is not found in winning an argument, but in not being swept away by another person's turmoil. There is a well-known story. A man came to the Buddha and insulted him, trying to provoke him. The Buddha stood calmly, still and serene like a peaceful lake. When the man stopped and asked why he did not get angry, the Buddha simply asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled and said, "The same is true with anger." Reaction is instinct, but the ability to not react is wisdom. When someone throws a stone at us, we can choose to catch it and bleed or let it fall to the ground, leaving no wound behind. When we take in hurtful words and allow them to damage us, it means we are accepting something that was never ours to hold. This practice is not about suppressing emotions or pretending not to feel anything. It is awareness that sees emotions rising without letting them control our actions. Give yourself 3 simple steps whenever anger arises. Pause for a moment. Breathe slowly. Observe everything happening in the body and in the mind. Do not rush to act on the first impulse. That brief moment of clarity has the power to change the entire story. You may not be able to stop storms from others, but you can choose not to become the storm. You cannot control what people say, but you can protect your inner peace. You are no longer the wind tossed around by chaos. You are the mountain, steady and grounded, letting every storm pass without shaking your inner worth. And in that stillness, you find the real strength of emotional freedom. Teaching 4. Let go of the identity you are defending. One of the reasons someone's words can wound us so deeply is because they strike the image of ourselves that we are desperately trying to protect. When someone calls us useless, selfish, or inadequate, the sharp pain we feel does not only come from the words, but from the fear that they might be right. We carry within us a self that constantly needs to be validated, loved, and acknowledged, and the moment anyone touches it even slightly, we react with defense or hurt. But the Buddha taught a truth that has the power to liberate us. The self we cling to is not fixed. The person we are today is different from who we were a year ago. Our voice, our goals, our beliefs, even our emotions, and the way we see life all change with experience. If everything in us is continuously shifting, then what exactly is the self we are trying so hard to defend? It is simply a story the mind creates to feel safe and seen. It is not an unchanging truth. When we see the self as something solid and real, every criticism becomes an arrow that pierces our self-worth. But if we recognize the self as just a temporary cloud taking on shape for a moment, then the words of others become nothing more than a breeze passing by. Their words lose their ability to hurt, because there is no solid identity to be attacked. When there is no self to wound, there is no wound to keep. This does not mean we deny who we are or neglect our life. It means we stop clinging to the image of who we think we must be. We do not need to be perfect. We do not need everyone's approval or praise. And when we gently dissolve the armor around the ego, something miraculous happens. Praise no longer inflates us. Criticism no longer breaks us. We move through life with more softness and peace toward ourselves and others. Letting go of the self does not make us weak. It makes us free, free from the weight of judgment, free from the pressure of constantly proving our worth. And from that freedom, the heart finally begins to love without condition. Teaching 5. Respond with compassion, not ego. When someone treats us poorly, our first instinct is usually to defend ourselves or strike back. The mind quickly builds a wall, trying to protect the ego from being hurt. But the Buddha pointed out that sometimes what others throw at us is not cruelty, but their own pain. A peaceful person does not harm others. A person filled with love does not use hurtful words. Emotional arrows are only released when there is suffering inside that has not yet healed. If we can see this truth, the way we react will completely change. Instead of seeing them as an attacker, we recognize them as someone carrying a heavy burden within. Instead of letting their words define our worth, we understand that those words are merely echoes of their suffering. And in that moment, we no longer mirror the negativity back. We choose to rise above it with compassion. That is not weakness. It is the highest form of mastery. When someone hurts you, silently offer them a simple wish. May you be free from suffering. May you find peace. You do not have to say it aloud. You do not even have to like them. Just holding that intention in your heart protects you from falling into anger and bitterness. Compassion does not mean allowing others to disrespect you. It means you no longer let the ego dictate your response. You respond with wisdom. You remain calm even when the outside world is stormy. That is true strength. No one can drag you into their inner battle if you choose not to step onto the battlefield. When you look at people with compassion, you realize that everyone is struggling in their own way. No one is perfect. No one is always right. We are all trying to survive and make peace with our own suffering, and that understanding becomes the foundation of a heart that stays unshaken amid all the turmoil of life. In the end, we begin to realize that true peace does not depend on how others treat us. Peace lies in how we receive and respond to what happens in our lives. No one has the power to control our emotions unless we hand that power over to them. No one can make us feel small if we truly know our own worth. And no words can hurt us unless we turn them into wounds within our hearts. The Buddha taught that peace begins the moment you stop taking things personally. Peace begins the moment we stop believing that everything is aimed at us. When we understand this with our whole heart, we step out of the endless cycle of emotional suffering and become the guardians of our own inner calm. If today's teachings brought you some relief, a new perspective, or simply a moment of quiet in your heart, I am deeply grateful that you are here. Please subscribe to continue this journey of healing, mindfulness, and returning to the freedom within yourself each day. Peace always begins inside you, and you are already walking the right path.